Okay. All right. The Philadelphia Eagles have made a couple of moves. Howie Roseman has decided to do some trading this offseason thus far. Trading Sidney Brown to the Atlanta Falcons with a 4th and a 6th round pick in exchange for a 4th and a 6th round pick earlier in the draft. Came as a surprise to me. Now, I think it was more of a move that they looked at and said, hey, Sidney Brown ain't starting for us at safety. He's not really panned out as the 3rd round pick we thought he would be, because as much of a lightning rod as he is in terms of being a special teamer, we thought he would be able to step in at safety and get the job done, and we had to draft Andrew Rakuba because of him. So they shipped him out for an earlier 4th and a 6th round pick by the Atlanta Falcons. Now, don't just look at it as an earlier pick swap. I would view it in conjunction with the recent signings of Marcus Epps and J.T. Gray, who was a special teamer formerly known in New Orleans as a Pro Bowl special teamer, a gunner who is exceptional. So view the trade as the Philadelphia Eagles traded Sidney Brown, a 4th and a 6th round pick, for basically J.T. Gray, a 4th and a 6th round pick, and then you re-signed Marcus Epps on top of it. When you view all those moves together, you look at it and you say, okay, Philadelphia, not a bad move, not a awful trade by any means, because even then, getting Sidney Brown out of the building, not that he was a problematic player, you just knew he wasn't going to pan out in this scheme, because you need somebody who has got a little composure back there. And Sidney Brown, for God bless his soul, as talented as he is, does not have the greatest football composure in terms of being able to just slow the game down and just play safety in a traditional way. He always has to go out and hit something, and a lot of the times it results in missed tackles. So not necessarily a loss, in my opinion. And again, when you bring in a guy like Marcus Epps and J.T. Gray, where J.T. Gray can slide right in at special team gunner, and you bring in a veteran presence back like Marcus Epps, who played well for us towards the back end of the season last year, with Reed Blankenship being gone, I think when you couple him with Makuba, you have a decent back safety pair over there. Plus, you're bringing in Tariq Woolen, and then you have Cooper DeJean and Quinyon. So your defensive back group on starting caliber power, it's as good as anybody in the NFL, as good as anybody in the NFC. So kudos to the Howie Roseman, and kudos to them keeping a lot of the star impact players on defense together for the most part. Obviously, the linebacking core still there, and the defensive line, we still have to deal with Jalen Carter's contract. But nonetheless, a majority of the defense is coming back, and I think it's important to recognize that. Another couple of moves that Howie Roseman has made is bringing in Andy Dalton from the Carolina Panthers for a 7th round pick. Now, we'll talk about this move in much more detail in a moment, but I will say this move, to me, probably the most underrated move in the Philadelphia Eagles transaction this offseason. Bringing in a veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton in the building, who is, again, he's been in the league for a long time. The last time we saw him, he was in Carolina, obviously, and he had a decent stretch there where he got them kind of on the track to playing better ball. And the culture shift that we have seen from Bryce Young, from his first start as an NFL player to what he is now, you got to contribute not only to Dave Canales, the head coach, but to Andy Dalton as the backup quarterback, because it wasn't like Bryce Young was playing well until Andy Dalton got into the building. So, and if you speak, and again, I've heard interviews with Bryce Young on how much Andy Dalton has meant to him developing as a quarterback, developing as a professional, just being able to see things on the field, because Andy Dalton's been there and done that and has played at a very high level. We've seen him in Cincinnati. We've seen him go to the playoffs like 4 or 5 straight years with Marvin Lewis. He's had high levels of success in the NFL. And when you bring in a guy like Andy Dalton in the quarterback room for a Jalen Hurts and a Tanner McKee, again, that's probably the most veteran presence that they have had since Marcus Mariota. And again, God bless Marcus Mariota. Not necessarily a guy that I would want in my foxhole compared to Andy Dalton, who I think Andy Dalton, if he has to play for a string of games, can give you some good production. When you couple that with the Sean Mannion hire, I think it becomes one of the more underrated moves in the NFL for Jalen Hurts and the quarterback room in Philadelphia. And it actually might pan out to getting some questions answered in that offense and in the quarterback room earlier than not. Right. And then, all these moves have been made by Howie Roseman to make this team better, but there's still one big lingering, move that can kind of shape the offseason here for Philadelphia. And that's what we're doing with AJ Brown. Now, again, we're going to trade him to New England, most likely. It's probably going to be after June 1 because we save more money that way. And the question is, are you getting a first and a third? Or are you going to get a second and a third? Like, what exactly are you going to get from New England? And then the last question I would pose to all Eagle fans is, after we make that move, because that's going to be that particular move is going to be what kind of shapes most of this Eagles offseason. What exactly are the expectations for Philadelphia? Because I can argue that what they are doing right now is going for a rebuild. That's my contention. That's what I believe, at least at this point in the offseason. And I understand it's very early in this offseason to suggest that, but I think they're going for a rebuild. Now, we haven't had the draft yet. We haven't finished free agency. We haven't finished training camp. We haven't done any of those things yet. So I understand. So before you Eagle fans come out and attack me for saying we're in rebuilding mode, I understand it's way too early. This is just my gut feeling, and I just want to know what you think in the comment section below. And when you go into those comment sections below, you are going to have to address the point, and you're going to have to address me. And I should probably introduce myself because that's just the right thing to do. If you've been here for this long, we appreciate your support here. So this is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I'm your host, Asif Badi, and like you, I am a Birds fan who talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here. Help us grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, commenting your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribing to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. As mentioned before, we appreciate your support on the opposite side of the camera and on the opposite side of the airwaves. All right. Let's talk about this Andy Dalton signing because, like I said, I think it's a bigger deal than not, okay? A 7th-round pick for a veteran quarterback in a quarterback room that lacks veteran leadership. Now, one of the biggest lightning rods of hate and topics of discussion in Philadelphia has been this offense, and it's led no other by Jalen Hurts and company, okay? And to be objective, last season, the offense was not very good. Okay. And I am a Jalen Hurts fan. I believe that he has come into this organization and a lot of good things have happened with him here. And it's not looked pretty, but I really don't necessarily care about it looking pretty because at the end of the day, we are playing football. Football is not meant to be an aesthetically pleasing game. It's meant to move men against their will. And that's what Philadelphia has done for the better part of 4 to 5 years, especially in the Nick Sirianni era. And with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, it's been a topic of discussion because one game or one moment or 1 year rather, you saw utter dog shit. And then you see in 2022, he comes out and has basically an MVP type of campaign. In 2023, it was high turnovers and the collapse occurred under his watch with him and Sirianni. 2024, we win the whole damn thing, get to a Super Bowl and win it, and he plays lights out in the biggest 2 games of the year in the NFC title game and the Super Bowl. And just last year, while he statistically had a career year, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and tell you that Jalen Hurts played well. I certainly won't. I thought he had a subpar year to his standard. I don't think it was nearly as bad as maybe some people make it out to be, where they want him gone. But it certainly wasn't a campaign that you look at and say, wow, you played really, really well this season. I don't believe that. It led to basically an overhaul of the offense. To the point where Jeff Stoutland's out of the building, to the point where now you bring in a first-time coordinator in Sean Mannion to run this West Coast style offense that you see in Green Bay, that you see in the Rams offense, that you see in Seattle, that you see with San Francisco and Atlanta. I mean, like you see this offense all over the league. And one thing about Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman is that they want an offense that's high-powered. And outside of maybe 1 year, 2 years of the Jalen Hurts era, we haven't really gotten that, okay? Like, let's just be real. And it's not his fault. He's not the type of quarterback that can drop back 30 to 40 times and throw you out of trouble. I don't even want him to be that way. I don't think that's a recipe for winning. But it certainly can look better than what it's been, especially when you did have guys. And again, every Eagle fan does this when we talk about the offense and we say, look how much talent we got. And then you go down the roster and you name every single player at every position on the offensive side of the ball. And rightfully so, because the talent on this team has been exceptional. And I don't know if Eagle fans could argue and say we've exploited the talent to a statistical level in terms of production that we probably could have. Now, it's resulted in winning, and ultimately, as an Eagles fan, that's kind of what matters in the end, and I don't necessarily care how it looks. So in that sense, you're right. We've won at a higher clip than maybe we ever had in franchise history with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and ultimately, in the end, that is going to be, let me be the jackass here, what we hang our hat on in terms of this offense. I say all of that now to suggest this. With the new coordinator in Sean Mannion, who was a backup quarterback in the league for a few years, was in Green Bay, and is spoken very, very highly of, bringing in Andy Dalton in, who speaks not only just the same language as Sean Mannion in terms of running a similar offense, it's another voice in the room that can act as a de facto, excuse me, that's my 8 o'clock alarm. I'm doing an early morning show this time. But basically, all I'm saying is that bringing in Andy Dalton helps not only Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee develop and be better professionals, and having a quarterback who just knows what they're looking at on the field in real live time, but it also helps the message of Sean Mannion get through to the quarterbacks to help them run this offense. Okay. And in that sense, the Philadelphia Eagles have taken a 7th round pick, a pick that usually is not valuable, and made it one of the most valuable acquisitions, in my opinion, this offseason for this team. He's going to be a huge impact presence in the locker room and in the quarterback room and in the coaching staff, because quite frankly, I don't know if you're going to see Andy Dalton take a snap this year. I do know, though, he's going to act as a de facto coach. I do know he's going to help Jalen Hurts and Andy Dalton be better quarterbacks this season, just to be able to say, hey, Andy, this is what I see. You've done this before. Let me pick your brain here. Being able to have that guy to say on the field in real time, hey, just settle down, settle in. This is what they're doing. Get the ball out of your hands quickly. If you could throw it out a 7-yard out as opposed to the 10-yard out and actually just hit it on your second step versus your third step, you're going to get the ball there quicker, and you're going to get it on time where the defender's not going to be able to jump. Things like that, like little tidbits like that. And again, when you're quarterbacking and when you're playing the game, these are things that like you would inherently know. And these are things that you say, you know, I've done this all my life, but sometimes you just need that little reminder. And it's much easier to get it from another player on the field who's doing the exact same thing as you, or who has done it at a higher level, as opposed to the guy holding the clipboard at times. Okay. So it was a savvy move, in my opinion, to bring in Andy Dalton, who I think is going to be a tremendous value pick for a 7th rounder. I think Carolina, and I'm pretty sure Bryce Young, is sad that Andy Dalton is not in the building, but you know, nonetheless, he's a Philadelphia Eagle now and is going to be a very, very valuable asset for us. when it comes to assets now, let's talk about one valuable asset, and this has kind of been the topic of discussion on this show in particular for some time now, A.J. Brown. More likely than not, it's just a matter of time where we're going to be trading him probably to the New England Patriots, and we're going to, again, they're probably getting caught up in contract details or getting caught up in the logistics of the trade, whether it should be pre-June 1 or after June 1, whether it's a first or a second round pick versus, something else, right? This trade, in my opinion, is a very, very big deal in terms of what this says about the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, people believe that this is going to be for the betterment of the Eagles, and maybe in the long-term answer, you're right. This might help Philadelphia, and this might help this team just kind of clear up the pecking order a little bit. However, I don't think you're getting any better than A.J. Brown at wide receiver. And if everybody who believes that Jalen Hurts is a problem, I mean, trading your best offensive weapon is not necessarily the best way to go about business, in my opinion. Now, if he wants out, he wants out, and more likely than not, he wants out because he just wants to, he's got his Super Bowl ring, good for him, and he helped us bring on this culture of winning that I think he doesn't get a lot of credit for. We weren't playing this kind of ball until A.J. Brown got into the building. Let's not forget that, okay? He came in here in 2022, and since then, we've been to the Super Bowl championship. We lost the playoff game in Tampa Bay. He wasn't on the field. When he got back to the playoffs, we won a Super Bowl with him. And then just last season, he had a really bad postseason game against the San Francisco 49ers, but so did the Philadelphia Eagles. And he had the few drops, and it cost us a playoff game. So, again, say what you want about his tenure in Philadelphia. Over the course of the 4 years that he's been here, he has accumulated 5,000 yards, damn near 30 touchdowns, set franchise records in receiving. Arguably, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver in Eagles franchise history, and has now gotten to the point where he basically requested a trade. And the accumulation of picks is what is kind of lingering over this football team, whether it's a first or a second round pick plus a third, is neither here nor there. The point being is this trade signifies why I believe this football team, the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman, are looking for a rebuild. I don't believe they are necessarily shooting for a Super Bowl title this year. I don't think that's how that's working. I don't believe the moves that they have made have suggested of the sort. I think the moves that they have made have all been contingencies, have all been moves that they've had to make because of financial constraints and void years, and this is just how Philly does business. It's cyclical for them. They view rendition of teams into 5 to 6 year chunks. That's how they view it. That's just my observation and my opinion here. Okay. I mean, we did it with Carson Wentz, right? We got his rookie contract in. We got a Super Bowl title out of it. Whether or not it was because of him or Nick Foles is, again, you got to give him credit for 2017, right? For Carson Wentz. We pay him the big contract. It doesn't work out. We transition into the Jalen Hurts era. Again, first 5 years of the rookie contract, we get a Super Bowl appearance, and then we sign him to the big contract. We get a Super Bowl title out of it. And now we're at a position where the void years are starting to kick back up on some of these players' contracts. And now there's rumblings about talks about getting rid of Jalen Hurts or whether or not you should extend him. And we change the offense completely. We bring in Sean Mannion. And does Nick Sirianni actually know what he's doing? Like all the rumblings that we see. And again, all cyclical here. We saw it with Doug Peterson. It fell badly with Doug Peterson. Nick Sirianni comes in. Yeah, he's a great, great coach. And now all of a sudden the guy's a dingus. And we don't know if we really want him in the building. Carson Wentz comes in. He was a phenom for 1 year, gets the big contract, basically has a bad stretch of football that leads to his dismissal. Bringing in Jalen Hurts, we draft him. We pay him big money. We get a Super Bowl title out of it, similar to Carson Wentz. And now we're on the back end of it where we're saying, can this guy even process a defense anymore? again, I bring up the cyclical cycle here, and my point being is this is just how the Eagles do business, because this is usually around the time where they start selling the farm a little bit and try to bring in assets, bringing in draft picks, doing all these things to offset the void years on the back end that they have used to help build the roster. Now, listen, look at this Eagles roster top to bottom, and you're like, how in the hell do they acquire so much damn talent? Again, these void years, the way they go about paying contracts, it's as good as anybody in the NFL. I called Howie Roseman the best GM in football, or at least the top 2 or 3 GM in football, mainly because of his ability to construct a contract. And the contract that he builds and the way he goes about paying people is just, I mean, nobody else does it in the NFL. And that's a credit to Jeffrey Lurie too, because he has to be willing to pay some of these guys. But I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here. My point being is, when you trade a guy like A.J. Brown, who is as talented as he is, the best wide receiver in franchise history, who is a catalyst for winning football games, yeah, when he's out of the building, I don't care what kind of draft picks you get. I think he costs you a game or two. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing or an unfair thing to say. It's also why I believe Philadelphia will be a 9-win team this year. There's too much change, and there's too many things to suggest that the Philadelphia Eagles are not necessarily going for a Lombardi trophy this year, and that they are trying to just stockpile picks, trying to build the roster through the draft, get on these rookie contracts, so that way, when the next rendition of the Philadelphia Eagles are ready to take stride, whether that's with a new quarterback or a new head coach, they're ready to hit the ground running. That's what they do. And again, this is what, the 6th year now of Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni together. Like, we're kind of on the back end of the cycle here, where it's running its course in Philadelphia. Okay, so again, it's way too early for me to suggest this, and that's why I understand if Eagle fans are upset with me when I say this, but this team is in rebuild mode. This team is not looking for a Lombardi trophy this year. They're looking to win games. They're looking for the offense to improve. I can guarantee you this. They would much rather win 9 games, have a prolific offense, and miss the playoffs than do what we did last year. 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. Okay? And if that means to them we have to sacrifice a game or two, if that means we have to sacrifice a year in order to establish what this offense can be potentially, then yeah, that's the risk we're going to take. And we don't know what it's going to be like with Sean Mannion running this Midwest offense, okay? Because I refuse to believe it's going to be the West Coast offense. I don't think you're going to come in and completely overhaul the system. We don't know if Jalen Hurts can run this offense at an effective level. We don't know if Sirianni will let Mannion even do his optimal coaching ability here, right? Because whenever he interferes in the offense, it's always something that stagnates it. So, again, whatever you may think of this lingering A.J. Brown trade, understand why this trade is so important. It's one, the accumulation of draft picks. The accumulation of draft picks. And again, we've seen it all offseason, where every move that they have done has been to acquire these compensatory picks or swapping picks, trading low end picks for high value. I mean, we get it. This is roster building. But this AJ Brown move, getting the contract off the books, clearing the pecking order, getting rid of a talent like that for some draft capital, to me doesn't suggest that, yeah, we're going for a Super Bowl this year. This means I'm trying to get as many draft picks as I can, so that way I can build the rest of the roster on cheap rookie contracts. And again, I know Howie Roseman has had a hit rate that's been pretty good in the draft as of recently. But again, you're not going to hit on every single pick that you got. It's why you have to have so many of them. I understand. But again, this to me just doesn't. I guess one last point here. You're not going for a Super Bowl here, getting rid of superstar talent. And it's also the last year of Vic Fangio. Like, that's the other thing that I think people are underrating here. I'm about to sneeze. Woo! Bless me. Bless you for hearing that. My goodness. It's the last year of Vic Fangio. And what's life going to be like on the Philadelphia Eagles defense without Vic Fangio? That's kind of the question that I think most people are not thinking to themselves. What is it going to look like? And again, you may believe in Clint Hurt, and I do. He ain't Vic Fangio. Like I don't care who you are. They're not what Vic is. Vic has completely changed life these past 3 years in Philadelphia, and it's his last year here. Now, I believe this defense is going to be really damn good, top 10 again this year. After that, I don't know. And I think Philadelphia is looking at it and they're saying, we need to make sure that this offense and the rest of the guys here that we have, are they going to be able to carry the mantle in the next few years? Which is why I think Sean Mannion is in the building, which is why I think they brought Andy Dalton in the building, which is why they're trying to clear the pecking order here by getting rid of A.J. Brown and bringing in draft capital for him. They want to make sure that Jalen Hurts can be the guy to carry this thing moving forward. Can he be the catalyst to your offense? I don't believe they think Nick Sirianni is the guy that could be a catalyst for running a high-powered offense. I don't believe that. I think they believe Sean Mannion can be. And if he proves it to this year, if let's say this year they win 9 games and the offense looks phenomenal, don't be surprised if Nick Sirianni is fired and they promote Sean Mannion as head coach, because they had something like this happen with Shane Steichen where, the brain drain happened, and look what he's doing in Indianapolis. Now, has he won a Super Bowl in Indy? No. But I'd also say this. I think he'd win a Super Bowl if he were here and Nick Sirianni were in Indianapolis. Yeah, that's just my opinion. That's how, I just view Shane Steichen very highly. But word around it, the NFL and word around the Philadelphia Eagles that Sean Mannion is similar to Shane Steichen in that sense, where he has that brilliant offensive mind. And if that's the case, this is a trial year where I don't believe they're necessarily expecting a Super Bowl, but they're expecting a high-powered offense. And trading A.J. Brown sacrifices a game or two for you. And if that's the case, you're winning 9 games. And I don't think in the NFC this year it's good enough to get to the playoffs. Not with the NFC West, not with Dallas getting better, not with the NFC East getting better, and certainly not because, NFC South has to have a division winner. The NFC North has to have a division winner with Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago. Too many good teams in the NFC. So one team's going to have to take a step back. And I think Philadelphia themselves are saying we're going to be the ones that take a step back if it means being able to take 2 to 3 steps forward in the next few years. That's what I think their plan is. That's what I believe is going on. That's why I believe they're making all the moves and making all these one-year signings, and they're trading all their, good players and such. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Again, it's way too early to suggest that we are in rebuilding mode. I understand that, but this is just me projecting, and this is just me, trying to get ahead of the curve, so to speak. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Let me know if you think I'm crazy. And on that note, we appreciate you listening to the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast, and we'll see you back here next time for the next episode on Birdstalk. Hey, thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.